Alright, here we are for video number 1001, and I did mention earlier in the week that we're going to have multiple videos to try and get out as much footage as possible to celebrate the 1000 videos milestone, and there was just no way I was going to get all the games I wanted to show into one video, even though the one that came out midweek was 40 something minutes long. Well, this one's going to be 40 something minutes long as well. And I've actually had to cut a lot of videos out of it. So I guess that shows you just how much material is sitting waiting to be uploaded. So what we're going to do today is go through a bunch of different customs runs. So I think all 6 of these runs are going to be in customs, hopefully showcasing a variety of different builds. Like I said, I had to cut out quite a few videos. So I think mostly I focused on ones where if I had a multiple, like if there were 2 videos out of the set that had similar pets, then those were the ones that were more likely to get the chop. And here we level into Nurikabe, so I actually had another one with Nurikabe in it, and so that's why it ended up getting dropped, but I'm sure I'll end up using it eventually. So the concept behind this run, as we face Rev with level 3 tier 1 with seaweed, how fitting, was to go for a Pacific fanfish run, which is a pet that almost no one uses, even though it is pretty good. I guess it's just fairly limited. There aren't that many synergies really with cell value. So if you don't know, Pacific fanfish's ability is to gain stats at start of battle temporarily based on how many friends sell for 3 or more gold. Now, it's not particularly difficult to get a run with fanfish because it is a pretty solid unit. So in order to up the difficulty, I wanted to try and go for a team where we only have level 1s. So obviously if you have a level 3, that means it's going to sell for 3 gold and that will activate the fanfish. But for the purposes of this run, we're only going to have level 1 teammates of the fanfish. And so we have to artificially increase their cell value in order to make the ability go off. Now, because I've cut out a chunk of the early game, you won't have seen me buying asparagus onto the nudibranch. So we do actually have one cell value of 3 already. And ultimately, I wanted to get a team of 5. Where the fanfish was level 3 and then the other 4 units were all level 1, but they sold for 3 or more gold. Now, another way you can increase the cell value other than asparagus is using rice. Now, I was also banning myself from using that because I felt it would be too easy. But you can also use a jewel caterpillar, which I think was in this pack, but it's pretty bad, so I ended up not using it. So yeah, I basically had settled on, pets that have very good level 1 abilities. And I think we really needed a tier 1 or 2 to stay in the team the whole way to have a chance. And so nudibranch seems like the obvious choice since it's, a 5-3 stat line on turn 1, as long as you don't have any duplicates. So we start freezing some more asparagus. I'm not sure at this point if I've bought any more other than on the nudibranch. But we'll start making the Nurikabe a bit more expensive and therefore make the ability go off on the fanfish multiple times. Now, everything starts at cell value 1, so you have to buy 2 asparagus in order to get 3 gold cell value. Now, actually, there's a glitch at the moment where the asparagus animation doesn't show up when the pet is level 1. So it's kind of weird, but trust me that it did actually work there. Now hopefully here we're going to end up drawing so we can buy another one. Did the fanfish go off twice there? I didn't notice. Yeah, because this is based on cell value, it's kind of difficult to tell in the replay what's actually happening. I wonder if it's confusing for opposing teams going up against a squad like this and thinking, why is the fanfish actually working? So yeah, not surprising that we had to kind of race to an early victory in that one. So we'll move on to this next run. Now this is based on a suggestion. I don't know who it was, Whether or not it was a request or just someone pointing out a particular synergy, I don't remember. So you can let me know in the comments if it was you. But what we're going to try and do here is use Tatzelworm with Kiwano, and then have a real Velociraptor with Mushroom at the front. So what will happen is the Kiwano gets spent by the first snipe, and then the real Velo comes back to life and gives back the Kiwano that the Tatzelworm had before. So kind of trying to bypass the whole restriction of Kiwano only working on the first snipe. And I have done a video on that in the past, although it was, I think it was actually on Equi's channel, so I'll link that in the description if I can find it. That was very difficult trying to use Real Velo, Kiwano and Wharf. But I think this one's much more realistic to go for if you want to give it a try yourself. So although we gave them a donkey at the very end there, we still end up claiming the win. I think there was another run that I had recorded that had multiple donkeys in the team, which is the reason why it ended up on the cutting room floor, but since we have donkey in this run as well. I think in the current customs meta, taking donkey is pretty good. You don't really face that many summon teams, but you do face quite a lot of the Danger Pack stall teams. So teams with II or Black Rhino, the other pets that you just always put in the back line. And generally speaking, people are not going to take Brussels sprouts, so most of the time you're going to be able to move an important unit to the front. I guess Donkey also fits into that category that we've talked about a few times, of pets that you can just buy at level 1. I forget when I mentioned that, or maybe other people have mentioned that recently in videos, that there aren't that many pets where you can just take the level 1 and it's, there's not really a huge need to upgrade it. In fact, oftentimes there can be opponents like this one here where we actually give them a benefit from the donkey, although we're still going to draw. But yeah, sometimes, like for instance, if they have a Spino at the back, and then you end up, if you have level 2 donkey, and then you give the Spino an extra trigger by, moving them to second position instead of first. As we transform the skeleton dog there and end up getting the Tatzelworm, which is absolutely perfect. Double Flounder in shop is incredibly nice, but I'm not sure I'm going to do it. No. We could have used some seagull shenanigans there to help us, but I think I'm not sure the levels are really that important here, because the level on the Tatzelworm isn't going to matter if it keeps getting Kiwano back, because it's always going to do the same damage. So here we end up losing to Back Egg, which, or maybe it wasn't Back Egg because we used the donkey, but it looks pretty weird when the egg is the last action. So we don't get the real Velo, but that's fine. We're willing to wait. And we need Mushroom on Seagull, of course, as well. It wouldn't be a customs video without Mushroom Seagull in there somewhere. Snow Leopard instant kills our donkey, although I think we might be alright because the rest of their squad is just waiting for the flashlight to break. So here's the Mushroom, and then we'll go for the higher level on the Seagull, and there is Kiwano. So this means that the snipe from Tatzelworm is guaranteed to do 10, doesn't matter what the level of the pet is in front of it. And here it's absolutely perfect because not only do they have the Sawfish at the back, but the Panther loses its equipment from the Toad. And it's an easy win. There's the Seagull level up. Unfortunately, we don't get Real Velo again, but I think I'm going to take the Cow level up, although we do lose out on a chocolate milk there. I thought that was something that had been fixed, but I guess not. Or maybe it's only in certain circumstances that that doesn't happen. Big stat team, which is perfect. We should do pretty well against them. Although here, of course, the damage is kind of wasted on the unit that gets pulled to the front. So maybe Donkey wasn't the greatest choice in the end. I'm sure Rev would dispute that. And yeah, we do need to go for level 2 Real Velo or higher if we want this to go off more than once. Now, Real Velo does have a restriction whereby it won't give equipment back to the same pet twice. However, if the pet comes back from Mushroom, that restriction gets bypassed. Although, as you can see, the trigger count does run out, so we can only ever recover the kiwano twice. Still pretty funny to see it working there, and we also moved Brain Cramp to the front, which was hilarious. Just try and make sure the seagull lives. Still a pretty low statted team for turn 14. And then look at this, we've got Donkey and they've got level 3 Frostwolf at the back. What on earth? But we moved the Phoenix, and yeah, unfortunately the Kiwano gets overwritten, so we don't get to see it go off a second time. Kind of a chaotic battle with all sorts of elements flying, but in the end we win despite our combo being disrupted. Alright, next one, and I'm starting to lose count. Where are we here? Video number 3. So which game is this going to be? I guess I'll work it out as we go. Okay, it looks like I'm just going to keep feeding the stoat because we've got a level 1 frog. So that probably means I was looking for a particular tier 1 or 2. It's pretty rare these days that I go for level 2 or higher frog. I'm not going to take the stoat level up just yet, but we will buy Sell Griffin for 3 gold in the future, and we get another stoat. So I suppose we've had the seagull video, now we can do the stoat video. But wait a minute, look at this. Opposing team has sloth, and of course this is before the update, I guess, so bat is still start of battle and 1-2 stat line. And we take the level up and we get Venus Flytrap. So Venus Flytrap gives us the sloth because they had triple bat, so we were actually guaranteed to get the sloth there, because you can't be offered 2 copies of the same pet, I don't think, from Flytrap. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that's the way it works for anglerfish at least. And then we get level 2 chalk from the crow, from the stoat. And I think here I was about to spend it on the sloth, but on 0 trophies turn 7, that would be very unwise. So what we're going to do instead is spend the chocolate on the crow and then look for something powerful that can carry us while we try and get the team stabilized. So we end up getting Macaque from the level up and then another one, so we can just sell the penguin now. And suddenly our team goes from 0 to hero in very short order. Now the other fun thing you can do when you have sloth in customs now is you can actually farm sloths with Flytrap. So if we ended up finding another Flytrap here, which I can't remember if we do or not, yeah, it looks like I'm just going to give up on the toy. We just want the melon on the macaque as soon as possible. If you get another Flytrap and the sloth survived the last battle, you can just farm another one. Now, unfortunately here, because we've got the double macaque, we don't actually have space in the team, but it would be nice to put a couple of teams in the pool with double sloth, just for the amusement of opposing players. Unsurprisingly here on 8 trophies, on 1 trophy turn 8, everything is, all the other teams are pretty terrible. As we find the Flytrap, we get another sloth. And another macaque from the stoat, which is incredible. And here you can see I'm briefly considering running 2 sloths. But yeah, I think that would just instantly tank the run if I did that. So because I think this pack wasn't too terrible, you know, a lot of the custom packs I'm playing are pretty bad. So oftentimes you just have no chance with a sloth whatsoever. But I think here I really wanted to give it a reasonable attempt, even if the odds of success are pretty tiny. So now we get the melon upgrade on the macaque. I guess I'm going to look at the pack here to see if there's anything in particular we can go for. We could use Bonobo to get level 3 macaque here, but I think that would probably be too much negative tempo. So we actually find the macaque naturally and then also get Quetzalcoatl, which is probably one of the reasons why I was willing to give this one a proper try, since anytime you have it in the pack, it makes going for the sloth achievement so much easier. He says, having failed to get the sloth achievement on many, many occasions on this channel in the past. So of course we're going to take Red Panda. Unfortunately, it doesn't really offer us anything that we want. Yeah, I guess I take Leviathan in the end. Maybe I'm just going to sell Quetzalcoatl now. Okay. We get the sloth to level 3. It's actually pretty rare that I even get a level 3 sloth. Usually they show up when it's just too late, you know, and I end up having to, I end up losing when the sloth's frozen in the shop, or something to that effect. So I think here I'm going to take the Winter Spirit. Having looked at the contents of the pack, you know, there are only going to be certain units that are realistically useful. We've got Sunfish in there. And then I think here I just freeze the blue whale hoping for a transformation, but we'll take the double Winter Spirit for the turn instead. There's also Red Dragon there, so maybe I could be going for that. I think there's definitely a lack of scalers in this pack. And if I take blue whale, I mean, I guess that would be kind of funny, having the blue whale remove a sloth. But yeah, I didn't do it on this occasion. So another win. We get the level up on the Winter Spirit. We really need the tech units to do a massive amount of work here. You know, we need the Winter Spirit mana snipes to do huge damage, and then it looks like I'm going to freeze the Bay Cat. Yeah, even though we don't really have space in the team for it, maybe that was just a reflex. And then we'll also freeze the Blobfish, I think it was. Luckily here the melon comes in clutch. I've been using Gharial to get melon a lot more frequently than turtle recently. I think the fact that just not needing to pill the unit, and oftentimes in the mid game you can get away without having the melon. Although here I think I'm going to give up on the Blobfish sooner or later. Here's Rev, and this is a hilarious round where the Red Dragon ends up giving Crisp to itself and the Winter Spirit in front. Rev gets the summons at the end, but the Sloth mana snipes one of the lemurs out of existence and we scrape the tie. So that would have been pretty annoying to lose a heart there to Rev. So luckily it was a tie and he didn't get any nasty private messages. But now we're getting into the range where most of these opposing teams are just going to be absolutely colossal. So we really need them to be poorly constructed teams that have, you know, no equipment. And here, unfortunately, yeah, we get Quetzalcoatl from the popcorn. I think there were some tier 6s we could have had there that would have tied us around. Or I guess Baycat, you know, if we had Baycat, we could have, yeah, we should have tied with Baycat, but I think we could have won with Harpy Eagle. So that was pretty unfortunate. Finally give up on the Blobfish, we go down to 1 heart. And then it's bound to happen sooner or later. We get matched with opposing level 3 Macaque team, but they wisely have Ostrich Manta Ray instead of Winter Spirit, Sloth, Red Dragon as the teammates. Alright, next one, and this one is hot off the presses because I've spent the weekend trying to get a decent run of this build, and it was surprisingly difficult given the pets involved. Maybe not, yeah, I mean most of the pets involved are pretty solid, but Egyptian Vulture is another one of those pets that kind of was like a custom staple for a while. But after the release of Anubis, it kind of became completely pointless. And it's also a tier higher, which is wild to think about. But I really wanted to use it because I think it is one of my favourite pet designs in the game. And I really wish it was still in Golden Pack. Maybe there's a slim chance that when it gets, you know, at the next Golden update, we might be able to convince the developers to put Egyptian Vulture back in. But there are so many fun builds you could make in Golden Pack itself using Egyptian Vulture. And it looks like they're going to add Honeydew Melon, which is kind of like a weaker version of Melon, into Golden as well. So Egyptian Vulture would just make all the more sense in that pack now. So what I want to do is have a Panda behind Egyptian Vulture. You actually see that quite often because Egyptian Vulture is so hard to get going. Having the Panda already scaled up and then being able to just give all the stats to the Egyptian vulture in battle. Plus you get the feint trigger, which can be very useful as well. I think it's just generally better to go that road than trying to scale the Egyptian vulture itself, or take tamarin, for instance, which I think is significantly worse than panda, even though it's a tier higher. And actually we face, is it the same person twice? There's 2 Emperor Tamarin teams in a row. And I think, are we just going to lose? Yeah, 1 HP, unfortunate. So yeah, what I want to do is have Egyptian Vulture triggering the Blue Jay. So Blue Jay is another unit that I think is very strong, but very, very few people play it. So the goal here was to have a team where we have Catfish plus Farmer Cat, and then Egyptian Vulture Panda at the front. And then that will mean that the Blue Jay gets fed every turn and we don't have to keep buying food, although I will do that once I run out of other things to do. And the Egyptian Vulture should be able to activate the Blue Jay up to 3 more times. We could potentially get 4x value out of the Blue Jay, although I don't foresee it happening in this particular game. I had so many games of this where I had different variations. You know, you saw the farmer pig there. There were some games where I was deliberately trying to keep the farmer pig as well because it was guaranteed, and you know, bringing in the catfish just felt so bad. You know, oftentimes just tanking runs immediately as I bought the catfish. Not that catfish is necessarily a bad unit, but in this particular scenario, it wasn't particularly good. And of course, when we buy the Egyptian Vulture, although we're going to get the stat donation from the Panda, the Vulture itself is going to start as very small, which means it is very susceptible to getting sniped. So I think I'm going to immediately try and buy some health on it. Oh no, we get melon, very fortunate. I definitely didn't have melon in the pack to begin with, but I just had to put it in. As we then immediately face Rev with a swordfish that instant kills the Panda. But luckily, we end up getting the knockout anyway. I do sometimes wonder how difficult it would be to get some of these builds if we didn't have other creators playing in the pool, and actually, you know, making it a bit less likely that the opposing team is going to be all huge units. So thank you, Rev. That was much appreciated. Probably going to go for level 3 Blue Jay, although I don't know if I get it in this run. There were many runs where I did get the level 3, but you can see that we don't actually get full value at the end because there are only 2 pets behind the Blue Jay. So obviously this is the one downside of using Panda. You know, if you had a different way of scaling the Egyptian Vulture, like the banana pet that I won't name, you could just play the Blue Jay second and then you would get full value. But I was determined to use Panda just because it's a fun unit, and you know, it's a customs exclusive now, so we have to feature the customs exclusives as much as possible. So here's Bird, and we don't actually get to see the the feint there from the Blue Jay. But I think I'm just going to go for the level 3. I didn't actually try buying asparagus onto the Blue Jay. I'm not sure if that actually counts as feeding it or not. Yeah, odd looking team here with the they had the jackal there, but they didn't fling anything, I don't think. Maybe they were just using it in shop. But yeah, not level 3 farmer cat just yet. Although it looks like I'm just going to use this. Okay, no, we're going to use the chocolate on the Egyptian Vulture first, and then the farmer cat second. I never like using chocolate on a biped, especially as we then roll 3 more farmer cats. But you just can't take those chances. And so I was incredibly happy to see this team. This was probably the only game where I had the Egyptian Vulture getting up to basically 50-50 stats. And that we get the level 3 farmer cat ribbon at the same time. Alright, next one we're going to use some more units that I don't take very often in customs. Starting with Elephant. Elephant, I think, is a unit that you see quite a lot in customs just as a big stat lump at the back. You know, and it has that, is it 3-7 starting stat line? It's pretty difficult to turn down. I think as I make a blunder here with the double lizard at the front. No big deal. The huge stats on the elephant are going to see us through, just barely. And here I'm rolling for another tier 3. If you've played customs in the last week, you'll have probably seen me going for this team, so I'm sure you can guess what it is. As we find another elephant, and there we go, we get the tuna. Unfortunately, it was at the end of the turn. I could have triple sold the cappy there, but I think I would rather try and preserve the heart. Although maybe you could argue with the stats from the cappies, then we would have been fairly likely to win or draw anyway. In fact, actually, we're going to lose. So that was, I guess you could put that down as a misplay. Although I guess if we only had tuna elephant, we maybe would have still lost anyway. So now we get the tuna into the team, and I really wanted to do a build involving tuna where I didn't have leech. And elephant tuna, I'm sure I must have done a video on it in the past. It's okay. It's not that great. I mean, if you just playing something like elephant blowfish, elephant camel, elephant triceratops, they're all just going to be better, I think, in general. But I really wanted to mix things up with this. And as we get double flounder, although I'm not sure how I'm going to actually activate the flounders. Okay, we're going to go for it anyway. Getting high levels on this team, at least on the early game units, is pretty important. Fairly unusual looking squad here with Pony and Trout. Kind of like a base level Trout. I wonder if that was a transformation that went wrong. Looks like I'm just going to take the flounder. Maybe here I'm going to go for greed. No, there were some games where I played the 1.5 flounder at the front and greeded for the bonobo, which really not advisable, but I thought it was pretty funny at the time. Of course, those games didn't make it into this video, so I ended up not making it anywhere near 10 wins. Here's Matchman doing something with Toucan Blackberry. I think Blackberry's been quite an interesting addition to the game. Really simple idea that I just had never thought of, having a perk that I guess it's kind of like Rice in Pack 2, where there's no in-battle effect, but it's just there for the pets that need the perk activations to trigger their abilities. So here we end up rolling the Flea, and Flea is another sort of like all-star unit when you're trying to put a weak team together. Originally, the concept for this team was to have a Beluga with Slug at the front, but in practical terms, it's just so much better to take Flea with Mushroom, and only having 2 feints isn't necessarily a big deal as long as the rest of the team is working at peak efficiency. So with that being said, as we end up getting Elephant put onto our team by Fringehead, which is quite nice. Looks like I'm just going to spectate them. Yeah, I think this was someone I was checking to see if they had any pets from that weren't free to play. But I think either they had Puppy Pack or one of the or they had something. I think they did have something paid in that pack. If not in that run, then in another one. Now here's a pretty rare team to face on turn 11, a massive salamander and then all cell pets. So they're obviously going to do something with the stoat. Kind of strange that they haven't sold the stoat on turn 11. But we get the mushroom here, and then I think I really just want mushroom on the elephant and on the tuna. As we level into lamprey, which is the pet that we need for this combo to work. So the concept is very simple. We just want the tuna to be getting hit by both the elephant and the lamprey to try and maximize the number of hurt triggers we get. As this team actually, from Nick, actually completely messes us up. But I think the fairy dust results in the Quetzalcoatl not getting knocked out by the elephant, and we scrape the win. So that was slightly worrying when I saw that team, but we got away with it. Another mushroom, so definitely mushroom elephant. And I'm not putting melon on the behemoth because we're waiting for the last piece of the puzzle. And I think, once Quetzalcoatl gets sold, I'm going to put mushroom on the lamprey as well. Or maybe I'll put a melon on it, I forget. But we need the lamprey to stay alive, otherwise the team combo just doesn't work the way I want it to. Unfortunately, we run into an owl team here. I've put out a couple of owl teams in the last few weeks because of playing random packs. So apologies if anyone went against those. But yeah, Salty Spectate, 50-50. Okay, they didn't quite make it on turn 12, but not too far off. So I think here we'll just take Stingray for the stat reduction, and then the melon on the lamprey. Although probably would be better just to have mushroom. But I take the celery as well. Now here's a summon team. Often these summon teams I think, oh, this is exactly what I want, but then they have level 2 Spino, and sometimes Spino can just ruin runs. We're on 1 heart here, so we're in danger. Luckily they get Rockhopper, which is a terrible spawn from the eagle. And we're going to get a huge number of hits here on the tuna. So the behemoth goes above 50-50. And the Spino gets turned into a mimic. So yeah, I guess I should mention what the point of the behemoth is. Of course, the point is that it's the only pet other than giant tortoise where we can actually see the stats from the tuna being applied beyond 50-50. So giant tortoise, you could see it on health, but not on attack. So as we face another summon team back to back, so rare for that to happen. But yeah, here I want one more piece of equipment. Maybe you can guess what it's going to be. As I think we're probably going to end up losing the lamprey here, are we? Or is it going to be the tuna? The tuna getting hit isn't that bad because it's just there to take damage. And I think actually, yeah, it just survives and the lamprey doesn't team kill it. But I think we should have enough stats here to get through their backline. Yeah. Sigh of relief to get to 9 wins. Now I had a ridiculous number of 9-win runs with this build. And you know, so much of it went horribly wrong. We're not going to get to see the equipment, I don't think, that I wanted for the behemoth. Because I wanted Donut. And I actually had, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 at least 9-win runs with the Donut, where the final team was just an absolute nightmare. And here on turn 16, we face this team which had Dolphin, which unfortunately meant they killed the lamprey. The silly behemoth gets crisped, but we still win. And yeah, that was the best I could do with that team under the circumstances. Next one, in fact, I think this is going to be the last full run. And then we'll move on to some clips after that. Because, yeah, I mean, there's an entire video's worth of clips that could have been uploaded. But I've just grabbed a handful of them. I really need to sort out my naming system to make it easier to find these runs and sort of mark videos as proper, you know, this is a keeper. Because in the end, one of the clips that I really wanted to show, it was something that I don't think I'd ever seen happen before. I lost it. I guess I didn't mark the the file correctly, or maybe I didn't mark it at all. But I haven't been able to find it, and so I just had to give up because yeah, I couldn't delay putting this video out any longer. When you're actually numbering the videos, you do kind of make it hard for yourself to actually upload other things. You know, I would have liked to have done a short members only video this week, but if I'd done that, I would have gone to 1001. Because I assume that YouTube counts the members videos. I didn't actually check that. Maybe this has all been a sham and we've already done 1,000 a couple of weeks ago. So here I'm just statting up the Babirusa at the back because we can stat swap that onto any tier 2. And this was a pack where I think I just basically put all the units that I like the most in it. Or at least I did that based on what's possible in standard packs, because of course you can't just take everything. And it would be pretty unlikely if all your favorite units ended up, you know, making a perfect standard pack where there aren't any archetype violations. But yeah, this has lots of my favorite units in it, and a lot of them are low tier. So once I started playing this game and I got this decent early start, I decided that I wanted to try and win with 5 tier 2s. So we end up getting the iguana here, and we've already got bat, mink, and ghost kitten, which are all tier 2. And then we pick up the seahorse. So that completes a team of tier 2s. Maybe there are some other better ones in the pack that we could take as we move this team that had Quetzalcoatlus in second back position because it was going to be transformed by the proboscis monkey. Yeah, I freeze the vanilla bean here, I think, because I'm not happy with how bad the stats are on the seahorse. So I'm thinking about either looking for another seahorse and upgrading its stats that way, or just replacing the seahorse altogether. And you can see there I hovered over Sphinx for a minute. Probably not too many scaling options in this pack, especially if we're restricting ourselves to tier 2. But it looks like I'm going to use the vanilla bean now. Or maybe I'm just going to keep rolling until I find a seahorse. Okay, we get a ghost kitten. And this is funny because this is almost a full team of tier 3s. They've got the rock, but everything else in their squad is tier 3. And I've definitely done that before. It's much, much easier to do a full team of tier 3s, mainly because of Kappa, but also there are a lot of strong scalers on tier 3. So looks like I was thinking there briefly about moving the mink and taking another iguana, but now we roll into eggplant. I mean, if it's a pack with my favorite stuff in it, you know eggplant's going to be in there. And this is crazy. This is actually a super bizarre situation here. Look at this. This is an abomination that had swallowed a dodo, and they put it at the front. But then the eggplant moved it into the correct position. So, I mean, Jeremiah, let me know in the comments what was going on there. Why was the abomination at the front of the team if it had dodo inside it? Still worked out okay in the end. Now, leveling into Albatross when you have Iguana is always tempting, but I'm going to stick to tier 2s only. 4 squad with Leviathan. Actually, again here, we move the gargoyle to the front, I think. But, yeah, it didn't get any mana, so it didn't get to go off. And the Ghost Kitten absorbs some more damage. I think if you watch this run back, you'll see how many times the Ghost Kitten just tanks damage. It's such a fun unit, and you don't really see it that often, other than in teams where people are like spamming Hedgehog. Here's another damage reduction team with Nurikabe and Fairy Armadillo. Of course, they are both much better than Ghost Kitten in a lot of scenarios, so we naturally lose. Of course, we just don't have any stats really to speak of. But now we get the full team of eggplants, and so we have unlocked our final form. We are completely unstoppable. And we mess up this Wharf team. They do end up getting a snipe because the blue dragon gives mana to everything. And they are going to get a 12/12 doggo summon. But the mink produces the Easter egg, which is going to instant knock out the doggo. And again, the ghost kitten blocks the mana snipe. I'm not even really sure I need the seahorse level up here. I guess I'm just freezing it because I know I'm not going to buy any other pets. So we might as well freeze the duplicates. Okay, this is a non-starter. We end up facing a triple Jersey Devil team. Or maybe it was just double because the tiger was behind the orca. But even with the mix-ups of swapping the positions, it's not going to matter because they're getting 25 summons off of everything. Okay, 16 summons off of the tiger orca there. But we just need one of those summon teams that we faced before. You know, those Spino or Turkey or Vulture teams. But it's actually a weird-looking Pack 1 team. And somehow the Scorpion survives here. The Bat misses the Scorpion with the first weakness. It misses with the second weakness in a 50-50. But since we moved the Deer, the Snake has no summons left to snipe behind. And the 5 tier 1s with Eggplant claims the victory. Alright, now we move on to some random clips. The first batch are all Goblin Shark ones. So here's a Goblin Shark swallowing the Stonefish on my team and knocking itself out, which I thought was pretty hilarious, because then the Stonefish just spawns back on our side of the board. I think we still end up losing here though. Oh no, it's a tie. But yeah, I'm not sure I've seen that happen before. Another one here where we swallowed the Farmer Crow, Yeah, we end up giving them back another farmer crow with mushroom. So I mentioned this recently that I wasn't sure if that had always been the case, that the perk was retained. So they actually ended up getting 4 farmer crows there feeding the blue jay because of the goblin shark there. Look, 24 on each pet is insane. But what's even more insane is it then happens on the next run as well. So the goblin shark swallows the farmer crow again, and they get 2 farmer crows because of the tiger. And now the chimpanzee gets to activate a ton more times. So yeah, goblin shark has kind of gone up in value recently due to all the transform synergies. But there were plenty of occasions in the past where it has completely sabotaged me. And here's another one where, I mean, we were probably going to lose this anyway, but the goblin shark here ends up giving them another deer. So, bit of a disaster there. Yeah, I think we were probably going to lose regardless. And then here's one where a different pet sabotages us. We don't even have goblin shark, but we do have wombat. We give the peanut butter to the seagull, and then the wombat copies the turtle, and we lose the peanut. Now, I could be wrong, but I think if that doesn't happen, we do win or tie there, because the seagull is able to, instant knock out the other pets with giving peanut butter to the summons. And then here's a very funny round where opposing falcon copies Takushi, and although it does pull the Saiga antelope to the front, we still lose. Here's another falcon sabotage, where we daze the bear, and then we copy the bear with the falcon, which means that we end up giving the queen bee a bee to buff. Again, maybe we were going to lose this anyway, but I thought that was a pretty funny scenario that doesn't happen too often. Next one. Okay, this one we're going to look at a little bit in the shop. So this was a random pack. I think originally I was going to separate out all the random clips, but yeah, I'll just put this one in this video because I can't be bothered re-editing it now. So maybe you can see what's about to happen. We're going to play Mantis at the front with Mandrill second, and the treasure map is due to break next turn. So the idea here is to avoid needing to get a pill, and so the treasure map will break, turn into a treasure chest, then the Mantis knocks out the Mandrill. And this is something that you just wouldn't see as we face this bizarre looking team. Very, very weak. Maybe this was near the start of an update or something. But I was pretty pleased with this setup and thought, yeah, I've never seen anyone do this before. And there's a good reason for that, because it doesn't work. Yeah, the map breaks, but then the Mantis kills the Mandrill before the treasure chest appears. So yeah, bizarre interaction. I don't recommend trying that yourself. Lastly, we've got this clip, which I think is pretty funny because it's a terrible team. Turn 12. We've got the level 3 Salamander. I don't know what I'm doing here, if this was a random pack or not. We've got no protection whatsoever. And then we face a Great One team, and you just know that it's going to be small one inside the Beluga. So we lose 3 of our units. The Great One comes back with the mushroom. The Minotaur survives, and then it's a Bass inside the Beluga, and we win on 1 HP. So yeah, Customs is just an endless source of ridiculous clips. But for the sake of my voice, we're going to call it there. I hope you all enjoyed.